Lots of Tesla stock news today. We also got a few crazy excerpts from the new book about Elon Musk. Did CBS inadvertently just share a photo of Tesla's upcoming Robotaxi? Just a few hours ago, CBS released a segment called Walter Isaacson on the volatile Elon Musk. They shared a wood model of a small vehicle, but in the left corner, they showed something even more substantial, which was an image of a Cybertruck-inspired small vehicle, likely an early Robotaxi design, which you can see right here. There's not all that much to see here, but you can sort of get the idea of what it may look like. And there are certainly many very interesting design decisions right here. I think it does make sense that the Tesla Robotaxi would only have 2 seats, because I think most rides will be just one person and not 2, 3, or 4. Some maybe 2, and occasionally there will be some rides where it's more than just one person, but this saves quite a bit on cost. Makes it easier to manufacture, and it also makes it easier to scale. Now, initially, Dave thought that it was a 3-wheeled vehicle, but he's convinced now that it is a 4-wheeled vehicle. A new biography has confirmed Elon Musk's 3rd child with Grimes, named Techno Mechanicus. I bet Elon probably has more children that we don't know about. Maybe that's not the case, but I think the chances are higher that he does have more kids. Tesla is now displaying its FSD computer in some stores, together with the autopilot cameras. It's not just the cameras that you can see near the doors, but also Tesla is showing these cameras as well. This, in a way, is good news for us Tesla stock investors, and you'll see a lot more of this very soon. So at first I saw this: Nissan discontinues its Titan pickup truck. Okay. And then there's this: Nissan will end production of the Maxima next year. And now we just also learned that Nissan Altima will also be discontinued very soon. You will see a lot of this happening in the near future with pretty much every legacy automaker. A model after model being discontinued within a very short time frame. It will be sudden. But it's not that people will just stop buying cars. No, they will just start buying EVs. And if Nissan can turn all of its focus onto EVs, maybe it can avoid bankruptcy and perhaps even thrive in the long term. And by thrive, I really mean not go bankrupt completely. It's difficult to compete with Tesla. A Tesla advertisement was shown at a baseball field in Buffalo, New York during a game today. Gary Black and Ross Gerber will be happy to see this, I think. Tesla Giga New York employees were celebrating Tesla Family Day there. They threw out the first pitch and brought a Model Y onto the field. James seems to be pretty happy with this. And this is the car that they also brought with them. Now, the stadium doesn't exactly seem crowded, but maybe the other parts of the stadium were more full. I generated millions running ads. One thing that stands out about this is that this is brand focused, basically, because we are not educating the consumer. Why should you get the Roadster? And also, in the first place, the Roadster is not even available, so I'm not really exactly sure what would be the exact point of showing the Roadster other than to elevate Tesla's brand. But right now, I think the best, quickest, simplest way to get more sales for Tesla is not necessarily to try to elevate Tesla's brand, but just to explain to consumers why going EV is much better, cheaper, show people how easy it is to charge at home, show it to them that it's actually easier to charge than to refill your gas tank. Because every day, if you can charge at home, you leave with your battery full. The vehicles are also safer because there is no engine in the car. If you live anywhere where it's cold ever during the year, you get in the car and seconds later, you immediately have hot air coming out of the vents instead of having to wait for 5 minutes for the engine to warm up. Show the difference between instant acceleration and acceleration where you press on the pedal and nothing happens for like half a second. And then show the price, because the price is, I mean, it's usually in business, it's difficult to beat others with price, but Tesla can beat everyone pretty much with price. If Tesla decides to be serious about advertising, I'm sure all of these things will be implemented and done. I have not seen a clear confirmation that Tesla actually paid for this ad to be shown. Maybe this is just to honor the local employees. I don't know. So maybe this is free advertising. If it's free advertising, then it doesn't matter whether it's brand focused or educationally focused, it doesn't matter because it still works. Because remember, it was also Tesla Family Day at the game, so lots of employees from Giga New York were in attendance. I found another picture where you can see much clearer how busy the stadium actually was, and it was pretty busy actually. Anyway, if you play an ad like this at a stadium, it's a bit difficult to educate your consumer because the screen is relatively not all that big and people are sitting far away. So if you start going into subtleties, then it's a bit difficult. So a branding ad is probably the right choice for this kind of setting, but there are other perhaps more effective forms of advertising that Tesla could be using right now. And if Tesla is serious, Tesla will use these other platforms and avenues for advertising where it can seriously educate the consumer. During this particular week, Model Y was the best-selling vehicle of any kind in China with about 10,000 units delivered, and the second and the third placeholders are both new energy vehicles, which typically mean hybrids and not fully battery electric vehicles. Look at the price of these vehicles. The Tesla Model Y is, what, 3 times more expensive, and yet it's selling more units than these cheaper vehicles. That is the crazy part. So when anyone tells you that Tesla is struggling in China, well, Tesla is simply competing in other price points because everyone else is just so much cheaper, and yet Tesla is still beating all of them. So what do you think is going to happen when Tesla actually has an offering of a similar price? We have another similar chart, but this time for all of August. And again, just look at the price and see the first vehicle that stands out. I say it's this one. Starts at a higher price and it's a Model 3. Here's another chart for you and see if you can spot anything unusual. You can see that this last August, the BEV share in Germany was much higher than normal. Although it is important to keep in mind that this spike in August was because of some incentives expiring, but look back at 2019 in green here, the EV share was pretty much zero. It was non-existent, and now look at what we have done. The direction is painfully obvious, and this will help Tesla sell a lot more cars without really doing anything other than just producing more vehicles. Even if somehow Tesla Cybertruck flops, Tesla will still be successful just because the EV market share is growing so fast. So Tesla just needs to create offerings later, which by the way will be better than offerings from pretty much everyone else. So Tesla will be successful. But what I'm saying is that even if Tesla makes many mistakes along the way, Tesla will still be okay. But these Cybertrucks coming out of the factory right now just show you how dedicated Tesla is, because supposedly the factory shut down for upgrades and production line improvements, and yet we see Cybertrucks coming out. This is a bit insane. So the Cybertruck spoon is actually a real thing, and you can get it from McDonald's, although supposedly now it is sold out. But this subreddit gives you the dimensions and all of the specs of the Cybertruck spoon. But as much as I love Tesla and the Cybertruck, I say I agree with this comment here. This subreddit has gone too far. I draw the line at the spoon specs. Troy just put up this poll asking everyone, what do you think the target will be for 2024 delivery? So not necessarily how many deliveries Tesla will actually deliver, but what will be the target that Tesla will set for itself officially. And most people say is going to be 2.4 million, which is more than 30% in terms of year-over-year growth. I think most people would have voted for a higher number if Troy gave an option for a higher number. Troy says that Model Y is demand limited everywhere, even though both Giga Texas and Giga Berlin production reached 5,000 per week in the past. Both are clearly below 4,000 per week, both in Q2 and Q3. And then there's perhaps supposedly some inside information. Perhaps no, most likely no, but someone says, I know they will reach 6,000 a week by year end. That's inside information. Troy says there's no need for 6,000 per week or 5,000 per week. It would just create more unsold inventory. And to that, I would say, not if Tesla cuts prices further, which in the long term, I still anticipate that Tesla will actually cut prices many more times in the future, or there wouldn't be more inventory, a lot more inventory, if Tesla decides to seriously start advertising and educating consumers. So I think the following lower expectations would assume that Tesla will not advertise seriously and that Tesla will not cut prices, or that there is going to be a recession next year and that Tesla will make a lot of mistakes, perhaps a lot of things will go wrong. I think that's what we are assuming based on these expectations here. In that the Cybertruck is not going to scale successfully, that Tesla will have a lot of issues with it, and that the refresh Model 3 perhaps is not going to be all that successful. Some of you will be surprised that Wall Street is supposedly positive about Tesla. At least that's what Gary says here. Wall Street clearly has a lot of faith that Tesla can turn things around in 2024, with 2023 earnings per share expected to be down by 17% year over year. Wall Street expects Tesla's adjusted earnings per share to bounce back and grow by 43% year over year in 2024, behind the strength of the Cybertruck, the Model 3 refresh, and stable pricing and auto gross margins. Wall Street assumes auto gross margins, including regulatory credits, will rebound from 18.1% in Q2 to 18.3% in Q3 to 19.6% in Q4 of this year, and to 20.8% in 2024. This is from the new biography of Elon Musk. The National Highway Safety Board is studying if self-driving vehicles should be allowed to slowly creep through stop signs, imitating 95% of human drivers. This is huge for acceptance of the technology. It will instill confidence for passengers that it's human-like. Elon Musk just made a comment about the excerpt from his biography about Full Self-Driving version 12. He just said, a long tail of training data, reality has a vast number of weird edge cases, is required to solve full self-driving well, and a crazy amount of training compute, which is currently our primary constraint. In other words, for example, what do you think will happen when Teslas compute more than 10x's in the very relatively near future? You gotta hear this story. Gates had shorted Tesla stock, placing a big bet that it would go down in value. He turned out to be wrong. By the time he arrived in Austin, he had lost $1.5 billion. Musk had heard about it and was seething. Short sellers occupying his innermost circle of hell. Gates said he was sorry, but that did not placate Musk. I apologized to him, Gates said. Once he heard I had shorted the stock, he was super mean to me, but he's super mean to so many people, so you can't take it personally. When Walter Isaacson asked Gates why he had shorted Tesla, he explained that he had calculated that the supply of electric cars would get ahead of demand, causing prices to fall. Walter nodded, but still had the same question. Why had he shorted the stock? Gates looked at him as if I had not understood what he just explained, and then replied as if the answer was obvious. He thought that by shorting Tesla, he could make money. Literally, Bill Gates said to Elon Musk, hey, I would love to come to see you and talk about philanthropy and climate. Well, how about you don't short Tesla if you are actually serious about this issue? Otherwise, you just sound like a complete hypocrite. Imagine touring Giga Texas with Elon Musk acting all impressed with what Elon's showing you, all while you just lost $1.5 billion because you shorted Tesla stock. I agree with Farzad here. Tesla's lead in self-driving is greater than their lead in scalable, affordable, profitable EVs, and this is not well understood. And the reason why is simply because these don't show up in Tesla's financials yet. It's a lot like what it was in early 2018, 2019, before a lot of people really understood how much money Tesla will make from its EV business. And I invested in early 2019 and then I saw Tesla stock go down, which makes me a lot more confident when holding Tesla stock now, even though it's still down from its peak. But people quickly understood that Tesla will make an insane amount of money from EVs in the future, and Tesla stocks skyrocket. I believe the exact same thing is going to happen when everyone realizes yeah, Tesla is actually indeed ahead of everyone when it comes to full self-driving. And then we will see another explosion, is what I believe. Elon Musk just made a political comment about Crimea, Ukraine, and Starlink. Pause if you like. I'm not going to read it, but I think it clarifies the whole situation pretty well. Every Tesla stock investor needs to go through this new excerpt from this new book, and it gets crazy. But it will help you understand Elon Musk on a deep level. As a kid growing up in South Africa, Elon Musk knew pain and learned how to survive it. I think that's an understatement. When he was 12, he was taken by bus to a wilderness survival camp known as a Veld School. It was a paramilitary Lord of the Flies, he recalls. The kids were each given small rations of food and water, and they were allowed, indeed encouraged, to fight over them. Bullying was considered a virtue, his younger brother Kimball says. The big kids quickly learned to punch the little ones in the face and take their stuff. Elon, who was small and emotionally awkward, got beaten up twice. He would end up losing 10 pounds. Near the end of the first week, the boys were divided into two groups and told to attack each other. It was so insane, mind-blowing. Musk recalls every few years, one of the kids would die. The counselors would recount such stories as warnings. Don't be stupid like that dumb little kid who died last year. They would say, don't be the weak, dumb F. The second time Elon went to Veld School, he was about to turn 16. He had gotten much bigger, bursting up to 6 feet with a bear-like frame, and had learned some judo. So Veld School wasn't so bad. I realized by then that if someone bullied me, I could punch them very hard in the nose, and then they wouldn't bully me again. They might beat a crap out of me, but if I had punched them hard in the nose, they wouldn't come after me again. So that was some wild stuff, but you just wait, there's more coming up. South Africa in the 1980s was a violent place with machine gun attacks and knife killings common. Once, when Elon and Kimball got off a train on their way to an anti-apartheid music concert, they had to wade through a pool of blood next to a dead person with a knife still sticking out of his brain. For the rest of the evening, the blood on the soles of their sneakers made a sticky sound against the pavement. The Musk family kept German Shepherd dogs that were trained to attack anyone running by the house. When he was 6, Elon was racing down the driveway and his favorite dog attacked him, taking a massive bite out of his back. In the emergency room, when they were preparing to stitch him up, he resisted being treated until he was promised that the dog would not be punished. You are not going to kill him, are you? Elon asked. They swore that they wouldn't. In recounting the story, Musk pauses and stares vacantly for a very long time. Then they damn well shot the dog dead. His most searing experiences came at school. For a long time, he was the youngest and smallest student in his class. He had trouble picking up social cues. Empathy did not come naturally, and he had neither the desire nor the instinct to be ingratiating. As a result, he was regularly picked on by bullies who would come up and punch him in the face. If you have never been punched in the nose, you have no idea how it affects you the rest of your life, he says. At assembly one morning, a student who was horsing around with a gang of friends bumped into him. Elon pushed him back. Words were exchanged. The boy and his friends hunted Elon down at recess and found him eating a sandwich. They came up from behind, kicked him in the head, and pushed him down a set of concrete steps. They sat on him and just kept beating a crap out of him and kicking him in the head, says Kimball, who had been sitting with him. When they got finished, I couldn't even recognize his face. It was such a swollen ball of flesh that you could barely see his eyes. He was taken to the hospital and was out of school for a week. Decades later, he was still getting corrective surgery to try to fix the tissues inside his nose. But those scars were minor compared to the emotional ones inflicted by his father, Elon Musk, an engineer, rogue, and charismatic fantasist who to this day bedevils Elon. After the school fight, Elon sided with the kid who pummeled Elon's face. The boy had just lost his father to suicide, and Elon had called him stupid, Errol says. Elon had this tendency to call people stupid. How could I possibly blame that child? Then Elon finally came home from the hospital. His father berated him. I had to stand for an hour as he yelled at me and called me an idiot and told me that I was just worthless, Elon recalls. Kimball, who had to watch the tirade, says, "It was the worst memory of his life. My father just lost it, went ballistic as he often did. He had zero compassion." Both Elon and Kimball, who no longer speak to their father, say his claim that Elon provoked the attack is unhinged and that the perpetrator ended up being sent to juvenile prison for it. They say their father is a volatile fabulist, regularly spinning tales that are larded with fantasy, sometimes calculated and at other times delusional. He has a Jekyll and Hyde nature, they say. One minute he would be friendly, the next he would launch into an hour or more of unrelenting abuse. He would end every tirade by telling Elon how pathetic he was. Elon would just have to stand there, not allowed to leave. It was mental torture, Elon says, pausing for a long time and choking up slightly. He sure knew how to make anything terrible. The PTSD from his childhood also instilled in him an aversion to contentment. I just don't think he knows how to savor success and smell the flowers, says Claire, who is also known as Grimes. Who's the mother of 3 of his other children. I think he got conditioned in childhood that life is pain. Musk agrees. Adversity shaped me, he says. My pain threshold is very high. And without that, I don't think Elon would have been so successful with SpaceX and Tesla and with all of his other ventures as well. With the conviction of a prophet, he would speak about the need to nurture the flame of human consciousness, fathom the universe, and save the planet. At first, I thought this was mainly role-playing, the team boosting, pep talks and podcast fantasies of a man-child who had read The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy once too often. But the more I encountered it, the more I came to believe that his sense of mission was part of what drove him. While other entrepreneurs struggled to develop a worldview, he developed a cosmic view. Elon wants risk for its own sake, says Peter Thiel, who became his partner in the early days of PayPal. He seems to enjoy it, indeed at times be addicted to it. Elon, thrived on crises, deadlines, and wild surges of work. When he faced tortuous challenges, the strain would often keep him awake at night and make him vomit. But it also energized him. He's a drama magnet, says Kimball, his brother. That's his compulsion, the theme of his life. In the beginning of 2022, Elon said this: "I need to shift my mindset away from being in crisis mode," he told me, Walter Isaacson, which it has been in for about 14 years now, or arguably most of my life. And that was basically exactly when he was secretly buying up shares of Twitter, the world's ultimate playground. That book, when it comes out, it is going to be so fascinating. I'm so looking forward to reading the whole thing. Yeah, and YouTube says you should watch this video next, but if you haven't finished watching this Elon Musk interview, watch this one next. My name is Matt Posius. Like and subscribe if you haven't yet, and I'll see you in the next video. Thank you so much for watching.